Hello everyone and welcome to K1 Action Star. And thank you for tuning into our today's movie recap for this action thriller. Please stay tuned, get your cup of coffee, water, or anything like that and just relax while I bring you up to speed on this interesting movie. So let's begin. It's 2028, and Los Angeles is in absolute chaos. Riots are breaking out across the city because water has been privatized. Yep, even H2O is a commodity now. In the middle of this mayhem, we meet two brothers, Sherman and Lev, ruthless career criminals who team up with their associates Buick and Pete, 22, to rob a bank. The plan seems straightforward enough, but things quickly go sideways when the bank employees reveal they can't access the vaults apparently because of heightened administrative security, which happened even before this whole citywide chaos. Sherman, in thinking fast, decides to rob the panicking rich folks stashing their valuables instead. During the chaos, Lev snags a fancy pen from a wealthy man, who ominously warns him, stealing this pen will come back to bite you. Ignoring the cryptic advice, Lev joins the crew as they blast through a wall to escape. But their getaway turns into a bloodbath when the cops arrive. A fierce shootout ensues that leaves Pete, 22, dead, Buick severely injured, and Lev critically wounded. Sherman thankfully wore a bulletproof vest. And although Lev has been critically wounded via gunshot, that bulletproof vest allows Sherman to shield Lev from further harm, but they are running out of options. In desperation, Sherman calls in a favor to a shadowy institution known as Hotel Artemis, a covert medical facility designed exclusively for criminals. So, with Pete, 22, dead, Buick injured, and Lev critically wounded, Sherman quickly calls in the favor from Hotel Artemis for their safety, a secret high-tech hospital for criminals run by a no-nonsense reclusive lady known only and simply as the nurse. The nurse has been running the place for over 2 decades, never stepping outside due to her intense agoraphobia. While she prepares for the arrival of Sherman and Lev, we meet 2 other shady residents who are checking in to lodge at the hotel. Nice, a lethal assassin, and Acapulco, a slimy insufferable arms dealer. The hotel operates under strict rules: no killing other guests, no weapons, and payment must be made up front. When Sherman and Lev arrived, they were immediately dubbed Waikiki and Honolulu because guests are assigned code names upon arrival. They're gracefully greeted by the nurse and her hulking assistant, Everest. Buick, however, who came alongside Sherman and Lev, is denied entry because his membership chip is invalid. It quickly became an altercation, but Everest knocks him out and drags him outside like trash to be discarded. The nurse begins operating on Lev, crafting him a new liver with the hotel's 3D printer. Meanwhile, Nice negotiates a higher fee for her next assassination job while subtly intimidating Acapulco, who's unsuccessfully trying to flirt with her. Tensions rise when a power outage briefly disrupts the surgery, and outside, the riots intensify. Frustrated, Acapulco calls for a chopper to escape. Meanwhile, nurse spots Crosby Franklin sealing the hotel's doors on the cameras. Crosby plans to bring in his injured father, the notorious Wolf King, for treatment at the facility. Things become a little complicated when Morgan Daniels, an injured cop, arrives at the hotel and calls the nurse by her real name, Jean Thomas, shocking Everest. Against the rules, nurse agrees to treat him, revealing they share a history together. Morgan, who recognizes the nurse as Jean Thomas and identifies her dead son in a photo, became a catalyst that stirred up painful memories for the nurse, who is haunted by her son's death by drug overdose. Sherman, on the other hand, discovers the pen Lev stole contains diamonds worth $108 million and belongs to the ruthless crime boss known as the Wolf King. Meanwhile, Nice reveals she's in the hotel to assassinate the Wolf King. The nurse, still overwhelmed by memories of her son passing, retreats, drowning down her emotions in music before breaking down over a loss. Sherman, on the other hand, checks on Lev, his brother, who was starting to recover and wake up. Sherman shows him the Wolf King's logo on the pen and gives him a stern warning, stating clearly that this is the last time he's ever going to help him out of any such self-inflicted troubles, and Lev, with divided attention, agrees but isn't taking his eyes off the narcotic syringe left behind by the nurse. While Sherman navigates a secret passage, Nice is up on the roof using some fancy gadget to eavesdrop on Crosby's plans. Acapulco shows up waiting for his ordered helicopter to arrive. He tries to recruit Nice into the funny plan he has. She responds by knocking him out cold when he realizes her true target is taking out the Wolf King himself. The Wolf King finally arrives at the hotel, but Nurse refuses to let him in because his crew came heavily armed, and it is outrightly against the rules to enter the facility with weapons. Crosby, his son, argues, but the Wolf King orders him to follow the rules. He steps inside alone, leaving his men outside and giving Crosby his ring just in case of eventualities. With the Wolf King's goons locked outside, Everest sees and uses the opportunity to sneak Morgan out. He promises not to spill any secrets about the hotel. On their way out they bump into Sherman, who immediately clocks Morgan as a cop upon spotting and analyzing his boots, but lets them pass without making a fuss. Meanwhile, Nice plants a bomb on the generator. And when Nurse starts treating the Wolf King's injuries, he uncontrollably lets slip a few details that's suspicious and revealing some crass inconsistency with Nurse's son's death. He mentions Nurse's son's name, which he sure knew will trigger some dark truth. She purposely overdosed the Wolf King while treating his injuries, then steps away to call Everest and Morgan, who reassures her that her son's death wasn't her fault. When Nurse returns, she confronts the Wolf King again, but he is groovy from the extra drugs she gave him. That's when the truth comes out nonetheless. As the Wolf King confesses to the truth, he stated that her son didn't overdose to death, but was killed by him as punishment for stealing his car, and that the police report to the effect of his death was a mere cover-up. This new revelation hit Nurse like the impact of a loaded truck. While all this is unfolding, Los Angeles goes in a full lockdown. Sherman finds Lev injecting himself with the nurse's leftover narcotics, confirming he's still struggling with addiction. Sherman tells him it's time to leave, and uses the stolen chips from Acapulco to free him. Lev, however, thinks he won't make it alive, and advised Sherman to save himself and leave, considering he won't make it out alive. Morgan manages to escape safely while Nurse prepares to confront the Wolf King with a scalpel in hand. But before she can make her move, the bomb Nice planted goes off, plunging the entire building into darkness. Acapulco's helicopter, however, arrives, but leaves without him, enraging him. He grabs a 3D printer gun he had hidden and sets out to kill Nice, blaming her for everything. Nurse rushes to Lev's side, but it's too late. His life support has failed. Nice seizes the moment to assassinate the Wolf King. She rejects his bribe and recorded the whole thing with her implant. Nurse's tablet alerts her to the Wolf King's death, and Sherman realizes that Nice planted the bomb. He is enraged, and grabs his gun to confront her in the room. Nice swore she didn't know Lev was on life support and argues that Sherman is blaming her for something bigger. While Sherman starts to lower his gun, Acapulco shows in, and shoots on both of them. Launching into a self-absorbed rat, Sherman distracts Acapulco and uses Acapulco's distraction to tackle him and force his head into the 3D printer, killing him with the machine. Crosby, on the other hand, discovers the ring his father gave him is actually a bombing device. He uses it to blow a hole in the wall, creating an escape route for himself and his men. Nurse finds Sherman and Nice and leads them to the secret passage. Nice grabs a handful of scalpels before deciding to stay behind as an apology for Lev's death. Everest sacrifices himself to stay behind, armed with an emergency axe to hold off the Wolf King's men. He fights valiantly but is eventually overwhelmed, outnumbered, and killed. Nice also, using her scalpels, sacrificed herself by staying back to protect the passage while Sherman and the nurse go by safely through the passage. She takes out several goons sneakingly through, but is also overwhelmed, and falls to their numbers. Nurse and Sherman make it to the front door, which hasn't been opened in years, but there is Crosby waiting for them as he sought revenge for his father's death. It was basically an ambush. Sherman tries to negotiate with him, offering him diamonds in exchange for their freedom. Crosby agrees but insists on keeping Nurse. Sherman pretends to comply but attacks Crosby during the handover. The two brawls it out, but Crosby gained the upper hand. Nurse steps in, injecting Crosby with the elephant narcotics, killing him instantly. Sherman helps Nurse deal with her anxiety to step outside into the chaos of the riots. He offers to take her with him, but she chooses to stay and continue her work at the hotel in isolation. In the end, Sherman drives off into an unknown destination, while the nurse returns to Hotel Artemis, ready to continue her work. As the hotel lights flicker back on, she braces herself for whatever comes next, headphones on, and a renewed sense of purpose. That's how it all went, and we are at the end. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more epical movie recaps. See you on our next one. Cheers.